Well, I think we're live. I think we're live. Hey, everybody. Lee Cole and Steve Rosenbaum here, hanging out, talking about second act career success, something, a topic that Lee and I have been talking a lot about. Maybe you know it intuitively what we're talking about or speaking about. Chances are you have experienced it, you are experiencing it, and that's why we're getting on, because there's been so many people communicating with both Lee and I about this. Let me bring on my friend Lee Cole and have him say hello and just start the chat here, because we don't have a script, right, Lee?
We have zero script except, oh, by the way, hi guys. But we have zero script except for the fact that we've just been talking about this, Steve, really ever since we've known each other. Because
well,
this whole thing informs a lot of what you and I do and what we think about things. We are ourselves second actors.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Now, folks, we're using some new technology here that I'm not exactly familiar with. We're using Webinar Jam. You should have a chat box, I think. If so, say hello to us, because we need to see what it looks like from our end. I do know there's a delay. I do know that you're probably not going to hear the words that I'm speaking for about 30 seconds. But so know that if you type something in there, we don't see it for quite a while. We've got a nice group online, so that's good too. But we're going to just try to be here, hang out, talk about our experience, talk about some feedback we've gotten from some of you, and if there's anything that you want to talk about, go ahead. Denise says she has a terrible echo. Lee, is it with Lee or is it with me? Because my headset's not working. Denise, that echo with me or with Lee? Lee, you talk. I'm going to try to get my headset working.
I think it's with me, Denise. And let me see if we thought it was on Steve's end. Y'all just have to hang loose with us. We're good at a few things. Technology might not be one of them. Hey, hang loose, Denise.
All right, there are a lot of people saying see ya. Lee, I think I'm probably still talking through my laptop and not through my... I'm going to try switching over. Let's see if this works.
Well, that's what I was wondering. No, that doesn't work.
Ha. All right, hopefully you hear me now.
Yeah, I'm hearing you now.
Okay. My headset doesn't work.
But
all right.
Do you hear me? Steve, do you hear me?
I hear you fine. I hear you fine. Let's just go with it, Lee.
Well, I'm not hearing the echo now.
Good. Then I fixed it. There you go.
Wow.
All right. So, Lee, you know, can I explain a little bit about what we're talking about when we're talking about the second act stuff?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. So, I've been reading some articles lately, and as I'm reading them, I'm looking at them and saying, wow, they're talking about me, okay? And they're talking about the second act. They're talking about people at our stage of life. For those of you that don't know it, I turned 50 this past April. My second act started many, many years ago, but the bottom line is there's a whole lot of people that at this stage of their life are reevaluating and saying, this is not what I expected. I'm not where I expected to be when I invested all those years in my education, when I invested all that time with the company, when I thought I had a career, when I thought I had savings, when I thought I had a 401k, when I thought I had equity in my home, okay, when I thought I had money invested in the stock market. And so many things have happened over the past number of years that the game has changed, or at least the rules have changed. We're probably still playing the same game, but the rules have changed. And in fact, I was just speaking with a lady this morning that I just met. I just met her the past 2 days, and we were talking about something this morning And I told her, Lee, that you and I are hanging out today and talk about Second Act. It's just, what's that about? And I talked to her. She says, you're not going to believe this, but my husband was fired yesterday. And I think that gentleman is with us here right now. I mean, this is going on with so many people that Lee and I just decided that we're a couple people that have experienced certain things in our careers, in our time. We've had our financial ups and downs. We've had to reinvent ourselves once or twice or a dozen times. And it's life. It's reality. And we were fortunate enough to figure a few things out. And we know a lot of you are struggling it. So we just said, let's hang out. Let's talk about it. Let's open it up. And so we're here today to talk a little bit about our stories, hear from you guys if there's anything that you want to chat about that resonates. And this might be something we do on a regular basis. What do you think, Lee?
I think it's a great idea because the people that I brought this to, that I talked to about it in the past few days, said, man, that is a great idea. And just like you were talking with your friend whose husband lost his job, I mean, I've got, you're so bad. I've got so many people saying that this resonates with them so well. But I think you really hit a nail on the head when you were talking about how, I mean, the game's there. The game's still being played. It's just that the rules have dramatically changed. Steve, I haven't told you this before, but I found what I thought, and I meant to dig it out, I just hadn't had time. I thought it was a shocking story in Forbes magazine. It was online, and the title of the piece was How to Get into the Middle Class. How to get into the middle class. You know,
well, you got to start up in the rich class.
yeah, it's the trickle down theory. But I mean, you were born. You know, I'm 57. I'm 7 years older than you are. But we were born in the same era. We grew up in this, you know, same country during all the same stuff. When we were growing up, the American dream was how to become wealthy. And now the American dream has shrunk to how to get into the middle class. And I find that appalling. I find it deeply sad. And let me tell you something. I find it so incredibly true. Because when you know when you really look into people's lives, when people actually let you into their lives and you see what's going on, you think, wow, crap. This is a whole different thing. This did not work out like anybody thought it would. And you know, you and I were on the phone with a friend of mine yesterday, and you know, talking about his take on this same thing. He's a little older than us, but a corporate guy, corporate advertising guy. And I think a lot of people still, I think he has in mind perhaps, and a lot of people have in mind that it's coming back. It might come back. It might take a little longer to come back this time, or some of it will come back. I got news for you guys. It ain't never coming back. And this has been going on. This has been going on for 30 years, frankly. It ain't never coming back. And that's the negative news. The good news is, Steve, you and I know so many people. You look like a commercial for a cigar.
I am. Hang on. Yes, folks, this hangout is brought to you by the Babalu Oscuro. That's the Babalu Oscuro. Get yours at babalu.com. I'm sorry, Lee. Go ahead, Lee.
Yeah, that little product placement there. Yeah, just send me my part of that check. But anyway, yeah, but I mean, you know, the bad news is the whole thing changed. It's not coming back. It's never going to get to be where it was. This is not a blip. This is, you know, the last recession. I mean, I don't want to get political with anybody and all that stuff, but, you know, the last recession, changes in major structures about ways like healthcare and things like that work in the United States. This is all resulting in, I mean, this was really the last nail in the coffin. I mean, this thing started really in the 80s, you know, with the whole downsizing in the 90s with corporations buying each other out and spinning each other off and all that stuff. I mean, the massive financial and career uncertainty that people started having, but everybody was like, it was a slowly sinking ship, and everybody was hanging on, thinking that the dream might, still be there. If I went back to school and got the MBA, if I went back to school and got the law degree, if I did the extra stuff, more of what the old paradigm was. But how many people do you know with law degrees who don't have jobs? I know a bunch of them, and they got massive debt out the yin-yang. So, yeah.
I want to just jump on something you said there, because it's important to know something. I couldn't agree with you more. The only thing I got my own beliefs in terms of, I think things started back in '72 when we got off the gold standard. But let's just.
Okay, yeah, I would agree with that 100%. Yes.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So, but aside from all of that, what you're saying that's critically important is to know that, number one, this isn't your fault. This isn't my fault. This isn't Lee's fault. This isn't your fault. You're her listening to us. The reality is things have changed, and things are aligned for the few. As much as I hate to say it, it's the way that it is. The good news is we're fortunate enough, the very fact that you are where you are today, listening to us, number one, not just that Lee and I are the smartest guys in the world, but look, we all do have an advantage over a lot of folks, and we're getting this new world, and we're understanding technology, and we're looking for opportunities, and we're sensible enough to do that. The good news is that's going to give you a leg up and the ability to navigate and get through tough times. I have had some severely tough times in a lot of challenges. And in some cases, some still exist today. I know everybody sees me online, and things are looking great, and knock on my glass table, things are pretty damn good. All right, but it doesn't mean that we don't have our challenges also. But I want you to know that Lee and I are champions of the entrepreneurial spirit. We are true believers that in today's world, you really got to look out for yourself. Am I putting it in a good way, Lee?
Oh, I think so. Yeah, we've talked about, the past, the negative, how we got here. I love the fact that you just told everybody it's not their fault, because I think a lot of people think it is their fault. If I had gone to a different school, if I had studied harder and gotten in medical school, if. I mean, look, let's quit with the self-hate, okay? I mean, we all have it. I got it. That's just part of being a human being, unfortunately. But that's not what happened. It wasn't a series of mistakes that got you in an uncomfortable position, because most people are in an uncomfortable position. But Steve, you and I have solved not all, but some of these problems. Some of these problems require repeated solution, as we know. I mean, this is the internet, man. You can wake up tomorrow and, like, somebody moved a major chunk of the cheese without telling you, right?
Or Facebook changed their rules again.
Exactly. I mean, and we'll get into details later on, but this hangout is really big picture, and it's just about the big vision that you and I both share. But you and I both know people, people for real, not BS sales letter crap. You and I know real people who actually have figured out how to either do well and or really thrive in this crazy economy. And we know people who've leveraged globalization. We know people like me who just sit at home, and I haven't leveraged globalization, I just don't commute, right? And we know all that. We know people who are able to, through the internet, reach out and find other like-minded people. And we know people who have built businesses out of the weirdest of things, because the internet allows them to get out to all the 6 billion people on the planet and find all the other weirdos who are just like them. And it's amazing, and it's a beautiful thing. And we see that. We know people who do that. It is a completely doable thing. I think that to my mind, Steve, the solution is a whole big umbrella. I look at it not just as internet marketing. There are 1 million people in the United States alone who are network marketers. those of you looking at this, if you're like thinking, oh my God, MLM, you need to get a re-education, frankly. You need to open up your hearts. I personally know more millionaires, real millionaires, made in MLM than I do in internet marketing, and I know a ton of people in internet marketing. And this also encompasses freelancing. Freelance copywriting, freelance graphics, all those people. I mean, this is a whole movement, a whole thing. All these things are like double first cousins of each other, and they're all solutions to this big problem that we're talking about. I call it like a triangle. It's your life, your time, and your money, and how that all interacts. Your money, do you have any? How do you make it? How do you spend your time? You know, in that big fat email that I wrote that launched everybody getting on here, you know, I mean, I was killing myself, basically. I literally ended up in the hospital because of a medical condition I have. I have a different relationship with time now. I took a nap today. I take a nap every day, Steve. So, and that is a really, really cool thing. And it's not that I'm lazy. It's just that I have a different relationship to work and to productivity that the internet, the technology, and really that a different way of thinking allows me to do. And I think it's that constellation of things that you and I want to sort of, I'm not really looking at what we're doing, Steve, personally as a product or a series of steps. I'm looking at kind of like we got a giant pile of wood and we walked up to it and we poured a bunch of gasoline on it and then we took a match and threw it at it and went woof. That's what I'm looking at this as. I'm looking at it as a vision.
Well, I'm glad you said that, Lee. And same goes for me. We are marketers, and let's face it, everybody that we know knows us because we produce and we sell products and we coach and we mentor and everything else. But see, what's come out of that for me, one of the most rewarding and gratifying things that has come from what I do are some of the success stories and the people that we've been able to help. I mean, heart-wrenching stuff. Just, Lee, I'm sure you get it. I get emails every week about people in just heart-wrenching situations. Whether it's financial, it's health-related, it's people with disabilities, it's people with sick kids, it's people with huge financial problems, and it's heart-wrenching. But but there's also nothing more rewarding from my aspect than knowing that I have something that maybe can help these folks because I have something that is it isn't dependent on any of that. I was getting my car washed a couple weeks ago, and the gentleman comes in a wheelchair. He's a double amputee, and I asked him if he was a veteran, and he was. And we started speaking. Your help with something because I educate returning vets on how they could go into business, helping other businesses, doing what I do. And they could do that. And see, I reached out to Wounded Warrior Project, and I said, look, I want to do this. I want to give free education to returning vets. I said, I don't care if I give $1 million worth of free education. Any returning vet, I would like to give it to them. And they just said, well, how about if you just write us a check? That would be better for us. and it really, you know, it was really a kind of a knife in the heart because here's an organization that I'm hoping is going to help me do what I want to do, and they're no help. But so I met this gentleman, and he gave me a terrific idea and is putting me in touch with one of the nearby Army bases where I might be able to work with the community people. And maybe I start on a small level with one base or whatever, but at least I get to do what I get to do. And occasionally I'll just grant somebody tuition. Please, I'm sure that I just opened myself up to 1 million emails of people about their circumstances, and for the most part, please understand, I understand you have tough circumstances, but understand there's a lot of tough circumstances out there, so it's very, very rare that I can and will do it, but I have, and it's one of the most rewarding things that I can do. And Lee, I know you spoke about similar things.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. It's really cool, but it doesn't have to be a totally heart-wrenching situation. I mean, it is really cool, and you and I both know a person I don't want to yell out a name because I don't have permission to, but a person that I've been working with closely lately who came into my world because that person bought one of my first products and went on to add over $100,000 worth of business to their company by doing that. And that to me is like massively cool because I was able to incredibly affect somebody else's life. I don't really see enough of that, though, frankly. I don't see enough of that. And I think part of the impetus for the second act thing, I think probably in my heart, I mean, look, you know, I got zillions of partners now. I've got info products literally lined out from now to a year from now. I mean, I got plenty to do.
Time out. Let's back up a second. All right. First of all, something you said, very important. Okay. The rewarding part, when you said, I don't see enough of that, and I think I know exactly what you're saying, and I want to add to that, but you tell me what you were talking about when you said you don't see enough of that. What are you talking about?
I don't see enough success.
Why?
Do you want me to be nice, or do you want me to be
really? No, I'm about to be brutally honest, so I want you to be brutally honest.
I think really, because I see people's lives, I see two things. It's like the gas pedal and the brake, all right? I don't see the vision big enough, and I see the fear too large.
And what does that fear cause?
Well, what does it cause? That's putting your foot on the brake. I mean, Steve, let me give you an example. Now, I'm not saying everybody needs to go through what I went through, but let me give you an example. As I was breaking free, I don't know if I told you this story or not. I probably alluded to it, but as I was breaking free, so I had a job. I was basically learning. I was building websites and selling Amazon products, and I would get up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I did this for a year, and I would work on my business, and I'd come home, and then I would cook supper, and then I'd be a husband and a father, and then hang on, my little cat needs to go to my office, and then I would stay up and work some more. I ended up in the hospital. I mean, literally. I thought I was having a stroke. My brain wasn't working right. I couldn't talk right. I thought that was it. I mean, it scared the daylights out of me. Ambulance comes. I was there alone with my kids. Neighbor comes down to take care of the kids while the ambulance takes Daddy off to the hospital.
That's scary.
It's scared the daylights out of me and everybody else. But the thing is, and I'm not suggesting people end up in the hospital, but the thing is, that was the level of my commitment and my passion. That was it. And did I have fear? Oh, God, yes. Steve, I'm going to tell you a secret that nobody else knows, and maybe everybody can keep this to themselves. I still have fear. I still have fear. I mean, I live with it. It is my constant companion. Fear of going broke, fear of not getting something out the door fast enough, fear of something changing. But my God, it's kind of like this for me, and it may not be like this for everybody. It's kind of like I have a choice. I can live with fear, or I can live with a certain amount of self-loathing. See what I'm saying? I can live with the feeling of maybe I coulda, woulda, shoulda one day, but I'm telling you, I thought this. I remember when I thought this. It was a clear, conscious thought. I thought, I don't want to be, this is before I went to hospital. I thought way before, I don't want to be dying and wishing that I had. I would rather just be dead, and I would rather fail and be sitting there saying, well, I gave it my all, maybe I'm an idiot. Okay, or maybe I was just unlucky, or whatever you want to assign to it, but didn't want to be sitting there and dying with regret, because I've seen that, Steve. I've seen that, and I've watched it in close family members, and I would rather live with the fear that I live with than knowing that when I go to my grave, it's going to be with regret. I just want to leave it all on the mat.
You know, I thank you so much for saying that, and thank you so much for having the courage to say it. And I raised my hand when you were talking about fear, because me too. Okay.
Yeah.
And I want everybody to know that. Keith wrote in here, fear is human nature, and feel the fear and do it anyways. And that's when he said, you want me to be brutally honest, that's what I was going to say. Okay. You talked about fear causing people to step on the brakes, i.e., not take action. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Now, one thing I know about you, Lee, because I think I see maybe 3 emails from you a day at least, right?
Oh, what? When I'm being lazy, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So one thing I know about you, Lee, is the fear doesn't cause you to put on the brake. You're still going ahead.
Correct.
Right? Okay.
Correct.
All right. Folks, that's what I wanted to say too. What I wanted to say when Lee said I don't see enough of it, what I don't see enough of is action. And I think Lee nailed it. I think Lee talked about the fear causing people to put on the brake. And many of you know that for a long time I've been signing my emails as imperfect action. No, what is it? Imperfect action beats perfect inaction every time. All right, and if there's one thing I can stress, folks, it's at this. Understand the fear. Understand the fear is normal. Understand you're talking to people like Lee and I. We're not the gurus that many people probably think that we are. We have a certain level of success. I want you to know the fear exists, okay? It exists for us too, but we still take the action, because I love what Lee said. His fear of going to the grave and not doing stuff is greater than the fear of doing stuff and not being perfect. Would that be an appropriate way to say it?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. That is so much a part of me. That's the fear part is the negative push. There's a positive push too. And you know, because you and I have talked about this, I am a deeply spiritual person. I'm kind of a weirdo when it comes to spiritual stuff, and you know what I'm talking about. And I'm not gonna. I mean, I'll explain it to anybody who asks. I'm just not going to waste time explaining it. But you know, I've got it all sliced up, kind of like in my own way. You probably already figured that out. Having said that, there's a positive. There's a negative push, but there's a positive pull. And that is a massive vision. You know, I told you maybe a month ago my big vision for the rest of my life. You know, we talked about, when we were talking about the sales funnel and all that stuff, I told you that. See, I am created. Part of the reason I'm here is to be my wife's husband and my kid's dad and my friend's friend and stuff like that, and I take that very seriously. Now, I'm not lessening the importance of that, but another part of the reason that I'm here, and probably one of the reasons you're here too, Steve, is I'm a visionary. I am the guy who just yells out, "Hey guys, let's go that way." I don't really know what the hell's over there, but it looks pretty good. Let's go do it. Okay? And, you know, and it may work out or it might not, but I'm headed there. And see, I think that's just ingrained in me. I have no idea where it came from. It did not come from my upbringing in any way, shape, or form. It's just, to me personally, it is a God-given talent or impetus or whatever. But see, that vision, you know, one thing that I loved, when you started crystallizing the second act idea for me, one thing that I saw was, I saw the vision. I saw transmitting the big picture. I also saw the following, and this is another thing that's really lacking. Steve, you and I know people like you and me, right? I mean, at any point of the day or night, we can pick up Skype and we can go talk to a person who lives what we live. You know, so if you're feeling kind of beat up, if you're feeling like, well, crap, that thing didn't work again, or if you're feeling like, hey, man, I've got this great idea, nobody's going to understand it except somebody halfway across the world, right? But if you see, you can reach out to people. You and I have a community of like-minded individuals that we have just, you know, we bumped into each other. There are not that many of us. 70% of us know all of us, right? So we have a community of like-minded individuals, and I think that it is so incredibly difficult if you don't. Because, you know, when you and I get on Skype and we have those big conversations, I leave those things. It's like somebody charged up my battery for 3 or 4 days, you know. And I have other friends with whom I have those big conversations with. And one thing I saw about Second Act is I saw, you know, we've talked about fear pushing you. We've talked about division pulling you. But I think also we need the community supporting you. See what I'm saying?
Okay. What I'm doing right now, I'm so glad you said this. Folks, I'm giving you my personal Gmail account right now in the chat box. I want you to add me to your circles. Anybody who adds me to the circle today, I'm going to create a special Second Act circle. And let's see where that takes us so that we can start this community together. I love what you just said. Lee, do you mind if you want to do that, just add it in the chat.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay? All right, so folks, now that's my private Gmail. I'm not going to do a lot of responding to people there, but let's just add a circle and see where this takes us. Like I said, we don't know where this is going to take us, but it gives us some continuity to go forward. Okay? So folks, add us to your Google circles today, and Lee and I will create that and maybe a group from this, and let's see where this takes us. Lee, can I talk a little bit about my story?
Please.
Okay, and by the way, those of you wondering, no, this is not a beer. This is mineral water. Another product endorsement from LaCroix mineral water, the official drink of back-end specialists everywhere. All right.
Nothing like the healthy combination of mineral water and big fat cigarette.
I decided I wasn't going to have a scotch today.
Oh, okay.
So, all right. Just a little good-natured fun, folks. All right. How many of you are familiar with my Rainmaker series? You're not going to hear this for about 30 seconds, but if you know my Rainmaker series, just type the letters RM in the chat box. Because Rainmaker is a series, I wrote this about 2 years ago, almost exactly 2 years ago, chronicling my change. Briefly, I'll tell you, I was VP of Sales and Marketing with the company for 7 years. Most of my customers thought that I owned the company. I always represented it like I owned it. I was the one they dealt with. I was the one they communicated with. Some knew the owner, maybe because they saw him at a trade show, because that's about the only time he ever went there. But the bottom line is, I went in one day, and it was a week before Christmas, December 19th, and my boss says, after lunch, he comes in, and he says, it's 12:05. I want you on the 12:22 train going home. Okay? And you're done here. You're fired. He gave me 17 minutes to get on a train and get out of there. It was a shock. It was very much my life. In addition, it was my career. It was everything else. Okay, there were things leading up to it. Things were a little bit rocky, but for it to end like that fast, out of here, get on the train, no thank you, treat me like a criminal. I mean, frankly, he came in and monitored that I wasn't taking anything out of my office, like I even could have with 17 minutes, or like I even wanted to anyway. So it's not who I am. It was very demoralizing. And in my series Rainmaker, I talk about the gut-wrenching experience. And that gentleman that experienced this yesterday, I understand exactly what you're talking about, but frankly, everybody who's on with us now and everybody who watches this video in the future, you've experienced something like that. Okay? And the bottom line is that led to me deciding that I had to get out of the corporate world. I had to get out of the rat race. I had to stop working for others. And I had to start finding my passion and serving my passion. And my Rainmaker series chronicles all that. I'm going to give you a link. If you're not into Rainmaker, you should. I'm going to give this. By the way, there's no cost to this. There's no cost to this. Totally free. So this is, I wasn't planning on this, so I'm going to just type it out. I think this is the link. Folks, tell me if that's the link. If it is, sign up for it. Know that all you're going to get is great content. Okay? You're going to get an email, and it's going to be a series of me reinventing myself and teaching you how I reinvented myself, and it's all done in a soap opera story serial, episode by episode. In other words, you're going to get several emails, okay? They're not pitchy, not at all. It's just great content, great story, and I think it will help you, all right? Because I developed it kind of as an exercise at some point, just that I wanted to develop my writing style, and so I did it. But I'm very proud of it, and eventually I'm just going to take all those episodes and I'm going to just turn it into a book, okay? But the bottom line is that was the impetus to me. That was the beginning of my second act. That was the beginning. Thank you. Keith said it's a good link. Okay. That was the beginning of my second act. All right. And so if you'd like to follow how I did it, follow that. And I'm going to be developing more along those lines just because I like the story. I've got a good story to tell. In fact, I got something else. I've got a chapter in the new book called So What Do You Do, Volume 2. It's just coming out this week, just launched this week. And before I go, I'll dig up a link for you because I did an audio version of my chapter. So, Lee, while you're talking, I'll dig up that link because I think people will enjoy that too. But that's a little bit about my story. What I hope I can impress upon you is what I did, how I got my very first 2 clients, and how I parlayed it from there. And then the other thing I would like to leave you with, if anything else, is take that action, folks. Take imperfect action. Don't let the fear make you step on the brakes. That's the worst thing that can happen, okay? If you fail, you're not going to fail totally. You might not succeed at 100% of what you were hoping to succeed at, but if you succeed at 70% of what you were hoping, you're better off than you were by not doing anything. All right? If there's anything I can impress upon you today, it's please, please, please take action. Quit falling for all the bright, shiny objects. My email box today says there's some brand new marketing black box that's been invented. My God, what did the world do before today's brand new marketing black box? Lee, I hope you weren't. Lee, were you promoting that?
Damn, I was just about to hit the send button, Steve.
I haven't even looked at it, and chances are I know the person putting it out, so please understand, I'm not knocking your product. It's probably an excellent product. I just want to say to folks, you have to learn to handle the bright, shiny objects and learn. I'm a proponent of them. You happen to be with some very smart people who've got some great products that can help you, but don't let them let you take the foot off the gas.
Well, I think actually that's something that as I was just kind of wandering around the past couple of days thinking about this hangout, that would be a good thing to address because all of those products, you and I know most of the people that create that stuff, and we actually do know that most, not all, but by far the majority of that stuff is highly valid. I mean, it works in the situation that it's designed to work in. When I was talking about the vision and I was talking about the community, Steve, you don't know this about me either. It was several years between me finishing high school and going to college. And during those years, I used to build machines for a living. I don't really do a lot of mechanical stuff, but I happen to be incredibly mechanical. Now, I'm talking about taking steel and using lathes and milling machines and things like that and creating amazing things. Those tools, like a milling machine, I mean, those tools are remarkably useful, but your average person can't walk up to them and start using them without a lot of training. And I really think a lot of the stuff that people buy, I mean, it works. Okay, so there was this totally cool plug-in, I've forgotten what it was called. It was called something, it had some funny name. But basically, as you're scrolling down the sales letter or the web page or whatever it is, it would make the things that appeared on your screen move. And I thought it was really cool. Now, see, I know that a lot of people are going to buy that and think, yeah, I got it. I finally got the plug-in that's going to do it, and they're going to install it, and they're going to look at it, and they're going to sit there, and crickets. Nothing's going to happen. That is because they lack the vision, they lack the big picture, and they lack, frankly, a lot of basic
Discipline?
training that you and I just happen to have gotten over 20 years of working in various capacities, sales training, knowledge of business, and things like that. So, you know, another thing that I'm starting to see second act as, I mean, this whole idea as we develop it, and folks, basically, we're holding this hangout, to get moving, because Steve and I said, well, what should we do now? And we said, let's have a hangout, because if you don't do something, nothing's ever going to happen. But we're basically doing this to see if we get traction with you guys. If we're speaking, we know we're speaking from our hearts, but are we hitting your heart? That's what we need to know. But, you know, I see the community thing, I see all of that as a place where people can, instead of just jumping from series of instructions to plug into nifty piece of software to this video ninja whatever, to actually backing up and saying, oh, well, crap, the reason that stuff doesn't work is because I don't know how to build a business. The reason that stuff doesn't work is I don't know jack about selling stuff. See, that's where you and I, Steve, when we came into this gig, we already knew about business building. We already knew about sales and marketing. I mean, I've been selling stuff, man, since I was 12 years old. No joke. And you know what my dad did for a living and stuff like that. And, you know, I mean, I grew up. He was a 10-man. I grew up around pitches, closes, and objections. I mean, it was sick. You know, I sold Christmas trees as a Boy Scout. My dad made me practice my pitch. I was the only Boy Scout selling Christmas trees who had a freaking pitch at 12 years old. I had to learn how to upsell at 12 years old. I mean, this would be child cruelty nowadays. But,
can you imagine if you had a back end back then, Lee? Oh, God.
Oh, yeah, I mean, you know, Christmas lights, et cetera, et cetera.
Hang on. Oh, man, you could have done the whole thing. You could have made sure you got business next year. You could have done Easter egg hunts. I got to do a shout out. I just got messaged here that a buddy of mine that I actually worked with back when I just told the story of how I got fired. A buddy of mine that I worked with is actually on this call right now. So I got to give a shout out to my buddy Steve. Yeah, we are talking about when I got fired and I took that long train ride home. My buddy Steve. We were talking about when MS fired me from that gig, and you know what I'm talking about. So what a riot to see you here today, my friend. Good to see you. What a riot.
So, right. Steve, what I'm saying is put a milling machine in my hands. I mean, over time, I could build a transmission. Put a milling machine in the average person's hands, it's just going to sit there and gather dust. Put a plug-in that increases engagement on a website into my hands, I can make more money. Put it into most people's hands, most people's who are on our list, et cetera, they don't really know what to do with it. And so that's part of the whole second act phenomenon too, to my mind, is finally putting in the deep foundation of, and it's really not that hard when you know how to do it, finally putting in the deep foundation of this is how you build a business, this is how sales works, so the people who want to can actually go out and make this work. So, you know, I love what you just said. So let me sum this up, folks. Understand that we think that those mailings are incredibly important, and frankly, we've gotten some great, I mean, a lot of that stuff, I buy a lot of stuff too, all right? We are looking at a product that you bought, Webinar Jam. We're using it, right? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's right, that's right. All right, so the important thing here is to know, here's what I teach my followers about those things. It's important that we all call them bright, shiny objects, and they are, but we have to understand how to deal with them. First of all, and my buddy Steve, that was on the line, I think he's the first one who told me this, so I'm going to give you credit for this, Steve. All great salespeople have ADD and ADHD. It's part of our chemistry, okay? Mm-hmm. Yep. So we are definitely
prone to being victimized by all these great things that we see out there, and we want to do them all, okay? But I believe, I've read a story about people with ADD actually being descendants of hunters. You had, in the old days, you had hunters and you had farmers. And those hunters, they had to kill something to bring it home, and they had to scan the environment, and they had to look for opportunity, and they had to look for threats, and they had to navigate accordingly, okay? And it's the same today. These things that are being sent to you are incredibly valuable, that you become aware of it, that we talked about the importance of the fact that we're here today, and at least we understand this technology world. Now, I believe this. I believe that technology changes nothing. Technology changes nothing. Write this down, please. Technology changes nothing. Technology improves everything. Okay? Technology changes nothing. Technology improves everything. So use the wisdom that you have. Okay? This gray hair, okay, this gray hair that I have gives me a huge advantage over folks that haven't been where I've been, seen what I've seen. But if you are one of those folks, know this, okay? You can learn from folks that have earned this gray hair, and you can avoid some of those pratfalls and bypass them and follow that road to success. And I would encourage you to do that. I would encourage you to keep consuming that stuff. Don't buy it if you can't consume it. But if you can consume it, consume it. Don't let you take your foot off the accelerator. Keep that foot in the accelerator. If you have something that you could see and you can implement and you know what to do with it when you step on the gas, grab it. If it's going to be something you buy and you spend 3 days trying to figure it out and then it stays on your hard drive forever, do not get it. Okay? You have to learn to evaluate things that way. But get that core strategy in place. Get that identification of yourself in place. Know what it is you want to do. Know what it is that you bring to the table. And then go out with a purpose and with a plan. Build that foundation. For me, I say lead with your back end all the time. Get that back end in place. Then go knocking on those doors. Then go influencing the influencer so it can put you in touch with 100 or 1,000 people. But make sure you have that foundation in place.
That makes total sense. So, Steve, I think we've been on here a while. I would really love to know, we got a chat here. I would love to know if we're reaching people. I mean, we have taken an amazing amount of spaghetti and just thrown it against the wall, which is what we intended to do, frankly. I mean, we had zero plan for this.
Guess what? Denise just helps us out here.
Denise, thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm going to read this, Denise. I hope you put this. Denise and John. John did it first. I'm scrolling down. Somebody say. John says, eye opener. I've bought countless software tools and ebook tactics, but I don't have a system or the training to apply them effectively. Okay, John. Thank you. I'm glad that's an eye opener. So hopefully this helped you. That's all we wanted to do. We wanted to reach some people today. Thank you, John. I'm so glad. Very rewarding for me that was an eye opener for you. Now, Denise, thank you for writing your story. Denise, I sure hope that by you putting your story here gives us permission to read it. But we won't identify you other than your first name. My story. So this is Denise's story. I've been a successful networker for over 25 years. Awesome, Denise. I started to notice that people were finding it harder and harder to make money. I drastically shifted my focus to help others, and now almost all the people who I work with are over 50 and are looking for that second act. Awesome, Denise. I've added personal development to the portfolio, and all is moving ahead. Generally, most people have no idea how to be self-employed, and without PD and support, they cannot cross the barriers that come up.
Nope.
I'm drawing a blank. Lee, PD, Denise?
Personal development, my guess.
Personal development, Lee, or Denise, is that it? Denise, thank you so much.
That's awesome.
It is true. It is awesome, and it's true. We all know about the baby boomers. I'm the last year of the baby boomers, and I turned 50. So anybody over 50 is a baby boomer. Okay? Well, unless you're 80 or 85, maybe.
I love what Denise said about most people not knowing how to be self-employed. Because, you know, we you and I grew up in a world with a school system that was a design, same thing today, if not worse, that was designed basically to create employees. But it was not to, but see, the problem there is that being an employee now in the 21st century is really not a cool thing. I mean, that's, you know, nowadays, I mean, that's like having a full-time job and 2 part-time jobs just to make ends meet. I mean, it's not a good thing. It is not even, it's not even talking, it's like the article I started out talking about, how do you get into the middle class? That is so, that's crushingly sad to me. Being an employee now is like committing financial suicide. Learning these skills of killing it and bring it home, that's how you're going to at least live a good life financially. Let me say one more thing that I think will throw some light on this. We see, you know, to us it's second act, to us it's baby boomers, and that's really true because there's these knot of people moving through our society. But it's even more than that. I have 2 teenagers, and neither one of my kids is all that interested in going to college. And I'm a college-educated person. And they both have really, really, really good arguments because they both have said to me at different times, my son says, well, Dad, if I can get on places like Udemy and places like that, and if I can learn Java and C++ and PHP and a little bit of this and a little bit of that in about 6 months, and if I could go out and get a $70,000 a year job, which you could, why do I need to go to college? And I'm saying, all right, fine. I mean, you got me. I'm, you know, guilty. I mean, you know, I can't argue that. You know, my daughter, my daughter, who's a really gifted writer, she is already learning the skills of writing web copy, and she's not even 16. She's just about to open up her little boutique web copy business. It's not just the baby boomers, it's all of us, and we can't argue to the younger people go to college. I mean, how many people do you know that get out of college with $50,000 of debt? They have, this is debt that you take to your freaking grave. You can't bankrupt out of this. I mean, you are owned. I mean, you are owned mafia style by the government when you have Sally Mae debt. So, am I going to put my kids through that? No, I'm not going to put my kids through that. I tell my son, okay, dude, that's fine. I mean, they both know they have to make money, you know, and they want to. It was never an issue between me and my kids of, well, is Dad going to support me or anything like that? That was never the issue. The issue is, how fast can I become an entrepreneur? That's the issue. How fast can I get hold of this situation myself? That's the issue. Now, if we can, because I loved what Denise said, most people do not know how to be self-employed. My kids watch me work. They learn, just like I learned selling watching my dad. They watch me work, and they are absorbing entrepreneurship. And Denise is spot on when it comes to most people don't know how to be an entrepreneur. It is a totally different mindset. It is completely different. Different fears, more fear, different levels of frustration, different ways of thinking. So I think, again, in what we're creating in the community, the tribe, the vision, I love that idea of helping people finally get rid of the old thinking and come in with the new thinking of what this entrepreneurship, this how to live in this new economy, what this is all about. I loved what she said there.
That's awesome. Hey, Lee, I'm going to ask you to do me a favor and jot down. I've got a couple ideas, and I want to talk about them. I hope we're going to have future. Can we have future sessions? Is that okay? I like this. I'm
loving this, man.
We got feedback from Ted, from Edgar, from Don, from Scott, from Denise, from Carrie, from John, Keith, Stephen. You know, so I think this is resonating, and I'm really glad. And so I'd like to do more of this. And a couple thoughts came to mind when you were just talking about some of the keys to success. And if you don't mind, because if you don't mind taking down a couple notes, because my hands are full. So if you don't mind taking down a couple notes. folks, here are some things that I learned. 2 or 3 things that are so important, and you probably have heard about them, but it's going to be so important to business. I want to talk about a few things, and it's not going to be this call, it's going to be a future call. I want to talk about the key of exponential income versus linear, okay? How to create exponential versus linear income. Because, folks, if you're going you're not going to make it as an hourly employee, and make no doubt about it, if you're out there working linear, i.e. getting paid by the hour, you're not in business for yourself, you're just your own employee, okay? So, you still have a job. So we need to talk about the power and the strategies for achieving exponential income, number 1. Number 2, we have to talk about the keys of residual income. How to do something once and get paid for it month after month after month after month, okay? And then we need to talk about the secret of compounding. Lee, you're a mathematician, so you probably know about the rule of 72s, right?
Yeah, that's a financial concept, but that's the number of terms that something's going to double or something like that? I forgot what that was.
It is. It's right on target. So roughly it works like this. It's exactly right. If you're earning 6% per year, okay, take that 72, divide 6 into 72, you get 12. It will take you 12 years to double. If you're earning 6% per month, it will take you 12 months to double. If you're getting 12%, it'll take you 6 periods to double. Okay, 9 equals 8. Okay, so forth and so forth. So that's an important. Compounding is important. And then finally, Lee, the last thing, the 4th thing I want to talk about is the 80-20 rule. I did a great video on this, and maybe I'll dig it up and send it out as an email to everybody because I wasn't planning on this. But we all have heard about the 80-20 rule, and all of us are going to say something. Anytime we talk about 80-20, people are going to say, oh, yeah, 80-20, right, but it's more like 95-5. For me, everybody says that. It's more like 95-5. Okay, that's not how it works, but I'm going to go into depth. I'm going to send out a video to everybody if they want it. People got to beg me for it. Do you guys want me to send out my video about the 80-20 rule?
Oh, I do.
Okay, well, Lee, I'll send it to you. If enough people say 80-20 in the chat box, then Lee, we'll follow up with an email to a link. Just pure video. I don't think there's anything to sell on there. I don't think so. I got to go back and revisit it. If it is, you could ignore the sales pitch on it. But if enough people want 80-20, type 80-20 in there, and Lee and I will send out a video about the 80-20 rule because it's an important concept for people to understand. Go ahead, Lee. I got to take a puff before this goes out.
When you're talking about exponential income, residual income, and compounding, and how I've been trying to change some things in my business that I've been doing or so. I mean, without getting into detail, I think this is instructive. So basically, I quit my job, I started a business, I multiplied my income, and I remember when I was sitting on the couch thinking about this in the middle of the night one night, I thought, there's no leverage here. I'm basically my own boss. Yeah, I'm making a heck of a lot more per hour than I was, but there are a lot of things that are not in place. And to really get somewhere financially, you have to have those things in place. Now, being the action taker that I am, I immediately sought to get those things in place. And you know what I'm alluding to, but I think that aspect is really, really critical. Having said that, you can, in business, you got to juggle bringing money in the door today with planning strategies that are going to bring residual money in the door later on. And that's a balancing act, and that's part of learning to be an entrepreneur, is figuring out where to put your time. You put all your time on the future, you're going to go broke. If you put all your time in the present, and making money in the present, you're going to stay at a certain income level. You're not going to, you're going to hit a ceiling. And that honestly happened to me. So I'm loving the fact that when I wrote that down, I was the student. So I'm loving the fact that we're going to talk about that.
Well, we're going to, because I I got a ton of people that have replied 80/20. So obviously everybody wants it. Lee, after this, I'll get you the link, and
Okay.
we'll make sure we get it out to everybody that was on the call.
Awesome.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for that response. I appreciate it. Lee, what do you think? I can still go a little while longer if you can. You got anything to say?
I just let me look through the chat here a minute. I mean,
I got a little more time on my cigar. Look, yeah, on my Babalu Obscura.
I love what Ted said.
Maybe it's time for a commercial break. Okay, no, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Babalu.
Yeah.
I love what. Well, Ricky Ricardo's one of my favorite singers of all time. So you know. But I love what Ted said. College debt is actually the new company store you sell your soul to. Praise the Lord if that's not ever true. You know, I just, you know, you and I just sort of jumped in the pool and decided to see, if there's water and if anybody wanted to get in the pool with us. And apparently people do. You and I are both very much big picture people, and I think we see, because we, you know, I've shown you some communities and things like that, and we see the potential of this, and I see the potential of helping a lot of people figure this out. It's not going to relieve all pain, but it's a heck of a lot better than the alternatives, right? See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They're new things. They're bigger mountains to climb. They're bigger monsters and larger armies, you know, when you march into this promised land entrepreneurship. It's just the way it is. That's why most people don't ever go there. Yeah, you're going to say something.
Yeah, I'm going to put you on the spot, and then I'm going to put me on the spot because I don't have this planned out.
Okay.
What are 5 action steps we can give folks?
This is going to sound kind of crazy, but one of the action steps that I would give people at this point would be to sit down somewhere, like on your back porch with your Babalu cigar, and get really, really quiet and understand that you do not have, that you're not going to be here forever, and really just get down deep into what really matters. And what do you why are you really here? And what do you really, really, really want? Not necessarily to accomplish, because this is what I'm talking about, is the stuff that happens in your heart before you even reach a goal, before you even say, I've got a goal to do X, Y, and Z, because that's really the outward manifestation of what I'm talking about. But I would just really dive deep and say, okay, what do I want to get out of this gig? Why am I here? Maybe it's not what you want. Maybe why am I here? Okay? That for me would be number one, because I've been through that process. I go through that process a lot, but I have been through that process at some very specific times, very deeply, usually caused by outward trauma. But I think that understanding where you want to go emotionally, spiritually, personally, you know, deep down, to me that's step number one. Because, I mean, you can end up, and we both know people who have tons of money and they're completely miserable, and we both know people who don't have tons of money and they're completely miserable, so there seems to be not a ton of correlation between the two, right? But I mean, I think when I was talking about that different relationship between time, life, and money, it was not time and money only, right? It was life. And I think you need to put that whole package together, and you need to decide, what is it that I want? You know, what do I want to do? And it doesn't have to be an impact that somebody could write a book about. You know, I mean, what do you want? You may, this is deep. You may want the freedom to walk out your front door and take a walk every day. That may be so meaningful to you, you know? So I think, and I can tell you about me, and you can tell me about you, and somebody else can tell you about them, but I can't tell you about the other person, right? So number one, y'all got to figure that out. And I would suggest diving really deep and getting brutally honest with yourself. about your frustrations, about, you know, your hang-ups, about what has always dogged you your whole life. Those are huge indications that you're not in the groove, seriously. And no self-hate here, okay? I mean, we're talking about self-liberation, not self-hate. But I would dive down and get really, really deep about that. And you don't have to tell anybody that you're a big phony. You don't have to tell somebody that, right? But I would just get totally deep and say, if it's just left to me, what do I want for me? You know, what is in my soul and my heart? So that would be step number one for me.
Good. You only got
What
4
about
to go.
you?
You got 4.
Well, that was a pretty big one. That was a pretty big one. Do I have to do all 4? Why don't you do one? So dive deep.
I was hoping it wasn't going to get to this point because I don't have anything prepared, but I thought that was awesome. All right, here's a couple things that come to mind for me. All right, number one, it's very hard if you're struggling. First of all, let me take a step back, okay? If you're surrounded by loved ones, if you're married, if you have kids, if you have family, if you got parents, brothers, sisters, whatever, okay, understand that, you know, they're deeply affected by what you're going through also, all right? And I couldn't be here today without the undying love and support of my wife. I'm fortunate for that. Others may have more challenging situation. I don't know, all right? But it's a big help to get those folks, to get those important people on board with you, okay? And open up about the struggles and understand that they're normal, they're natural. I do share my fears with my wife, and I'm fortunate that way. And it wasn't always that way. At that time that I got on that train in my Rainmaker story was the lowest time of my marriage as well, and I'm sure that it has something to do with it. Okay, now that we've been able to break through that, this is the best time of my marriage, and I'm fortunate I'm knocking on glass again. And thank you, honey. I love you. My wife, Sherry. All right, so that's number one. Know that, okay? Know that they're affected by what you're going through, but they're also, even if it's hard, turn to them for the support. You'll need it. You really do need it to succeed at this. All right, number two. It's hard if you've got real financial trouble staring you down in the face. It's hard to get past that. And many of us are focused on, how am I going to make my monthly nut? Maybe it's $4,000 a month. Maybe it's $5,000 a month. Maybe it's $10,000 a month. Maybe it's $20,000 a month. Okay? Let me switch over to me now that I'm talking. That's hard. You got to get past that. You got to focus on that big picture and have faith in the fact that that's going to take care of itself when you get these things going. Quit focusing on the 3,000 or the 4,000 or the 10,000. Quit focusing on the number and start focusing on that big picture. Start focusing on building the business. Those 4 components we talked about again. Lee, help me out here. The 4 components were exponential instead of linear, residual, compounding, and 80-20.
Yep.
Right? And I'll help you out with that 80-20. Know this about the 80-20 rule.
Steve, you're not on the screen. Everybody's looking at me acting like a goofball.
No, I think they're looking at me. I think so anyways.
Okay, well, whatever. All
right. Know this about the 80-20 rule. If you believe in the 80-20 rule, and I believe that it exists at here's what I believe exists. I don't believe that 80-20 exists as an absolute. What I do know exists is that a few of the factors will impact the majority of the result. You will have a few customers that deliver you most of your income. Let's just go with 80-20 as a general. Okay, know this. If you're getting 80% of your income from 20% of your customers or your clients or your products, then by definition the inverse has to work. That means that you have to be getting 20% of your income from 80%. That means you have to have something in place that gives you a lot of people contributing a little bit to you every month. Okay? Your customers that only generate you $30, $50, or $100 a month. But you have to have that in place by definition if 80-20 is going to succeed. Does that make sense? Otherwise,
different application of the long tail. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, that's right.
Very cool.
You have to have that in place. Focus on building that strong foundation of people giving you something a little bit every single month, whether it's affiliate income, okay, whether it's subscriptions to products, to you know, if you go out and you teach people how to market, and you're trying to get a $3,000 sale every time, well, make sure that for all those people that turned down your $3,000 offer, what if you were able to get from them $50 a month or $100 a month because you just happened to put up a membership site with some videos that you're capable of doing, okay? And so you have 100 people giving you $50 a month. 100 people giving you $50 a month, to me, is better than one person giving you $5,000 a month. Do you think so, Lee?
Oh, are you kidding? Because when one person decides not to give you that $5,000 anymore, guess what? You're scrambling. But when one of those 50 decides, well, I don't want this anymore, then you still have $4,900 a month. Absolutely.
Okay. So those are some things I would say. No, excuse me, folks, got a little tobacco leaf in the mouth there. All right, know that, focus on that, folks. I want you to think out your offering and stop thinking about one-on-one client relationships being all that you have to offer. Think about what else can you offer that gets you a little bit of monthly income from a lot of people. Lee, I think you make a very good living that way, don't you, selling $10 products?
Oh, yes. Most of the commissions that I make are less than that. Absolutely. Right. But, you know, right. And guess what? Does the name FW Woolworth ring a bell with you?
Well, in the past it does. Unfortunately, they're not a good example today, but in the past maybe.
No, not today, but around the turn of the last century, one of the richest people on the planet by selling stuff that costs less than 10 cents.
And that's exactly what I was saying. When I said technology changes nothing but improves everything, I tell a story of how Richard Sears started the Sears catalog. And he didn't do anything different than you and I are teaching today. It's just technology was different. But what he did was exactly the same thing. So technology changed nothing. It just improves everything. And the same would be for F.W. Woolworth if he were around today. He understood that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The reason Woolworth is struggling is because he's not here. So, one, dive deep. Two, understand where your loved ones are and honor where they are and honor the fact that they're probably scared too. You know? And if they support you, great. Mine do. And if they don't, guess what? That's actually great too. They're on their own path, so it's totally cool. And understand that the whole reason you're here probably is you want more, and part of that may be that you don't want some of what you got, which is financial insufficiency. Instead of using that to stop you, let's use that to pour gasoline on that bonfire.
I love that.
And then start thinking through the 80-20 rule. And what you're saying really, most people when they say 80-20 rule, they mean to lop off the 80 and focus on the 20. But what you're saying actually, Steve, is let's take the 80 and make it really big. And when we do that, guess what? The 20 will get bigger too. That's really what you're saying.
Well, and here's the other thing, and this is covered in my 80-20 video. That's your farm, folks. I talked about being hunters. I've learned to be a little bit of a farmer, too, okay? When you have a lot of people giving you a little bit of money every month, some of those people that are just subscribing to you for $50 a month, all of a sudden they say, man, he makes sense. I want to know more from him. I want to call him up and hire him to be my consultant or do business with him or whatever. That becomes your farm for your next client. But if you don't have that in place, you're going to just be constantly looking for big fish only. And you won't survive. See, the problem with big fish, they force you to work linear. They absolutely force you to work linear. Okay?
Yes.
The key to exponential success is having a lot of the small people.
Nice. That is really cool. That rung a huge bell with me. And I think we got 4 things now. We need 5.
Order a Babalu assortment today, and it will stimulate your mind the way it stimulates my mind. So you'll begin thinking like me just by smoking a Babalu Oscuro. If you want to think like me, smoke a Babalu Oscuro.
If you want to think like me, smoke like me. And you can get this through Steve's special Babalu affiliate link too. So order a Babalu.
I'm going to send out a link to Babalu along with the 80/20 video.
I think that's hilarious. I think that's hilarious. So guys, I would love to know. I'm probably going to have to go in a minute, but I would love to know. Did we strike a chord with you? Because we sure as heck did with me.
Hey, if you want, Leah, let me ask it this way. Let me ask it this way. Thank you for asking that question. Should we do this again? Okay? If you want us to do this again, please type the word again, so we know. If you think this was totally just a waste of your time, go ahead and type waste. That's okay. I want to hear either again or waste, and I can handle either one. I'd like to see a little bit of both. All right, so please type again or waste in the chat, and you will not offend me if we wasted your time. You know me, I'm always, yeah.
Let me add to that a little bit. I think again does not mean repeat. I think again means, I mean, you and I have not totally mapped out, but we have a vision for a direction for this, right? So I think again means more. Are y'all interested in going down this path toward crystallizing this vision in this direction? I think that's really what we're talking about here.
Absolutely. I think that's it. All right, Lee, let's start wrapping it up. It's going to take a little while for people to get that message and respond with the chat, but I think it's okay for us to start.
We have many agains and yeses. Yeah.
That's wonderful, people. Thank you, because I've loved this.
I have too.
I find it relaxing. I find it rewarding. I feel like I'm with a bunch of friends here. And I recognize a lot of the names, and that's good, but some I don't, so I'm glad I'm meeting new people also. Invite your friends too, right? People can invite others, right? We just want to hang out.
Of course, absolutely. I mean, our goal is to really create a movement and a tribe. I wasn't joking when I said a revolution. You know, I mean, I was, you know, I was stone cold serious when I said that word in the email.
Yeah, yeah.
Because, you know, I just get really passionate about this stuff, and I get passionate about people's relationship to the new economy. And I would love the opportunity to, over time, take what you and I know very instinctively, and get this out in an objective way and encapsulate it to where we can teach it to other people. That's what I would love.
Well, it seems to be unanimous. Thank you, everybody, for that. Let's. Somebody says crystallize the direction. I agree. That was Jay. Thank you, Jay. Let's do this. Let's do that. Let's crystallize the direction of this. So one way that I'll do that is, it won't be today. My folks are actually coming in to visit from out of town. So when I get off here, I better shower so my wife, so my mother doesn't smell the Oscuro on me. But anyways, and then Lee, I might ask you. I might just give you the link to the 80/20 video and ask you to send that out if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
And I'll check my calendar. Maybe this can be our regular time. Maybe we can meet this time next week. I'll check my calendar.
This is generally a great time for me.
Yeah, because I had a nap this afternoon. I'll be up from my nap by this time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, works for me.
Okay. Matthew's asking about a replay. The replay. That's why we're doing it by Hangout. It's going to go to the YouTube channel automatically. So the replay's there. The replay's at the same link all the time. You'll always see the replay. Okay.
Very cool.
If you missed the beginning, go back and watch it. And we will do this again. We'll check our calendars when we can. We'll look to do this maybe next week, same time, same station if we can. But we'll send out an email about it.
I think so. And another thing I would love is, you know, one thing that works with me, Steve, is you know, when I put a lot of information in my head, when I have a conversation with somebody like you, I have to walk around for about a day and not think about it. And I know you've heard me say that. well, okay, that, now at this point, I got to walk around and not think about it and let the good stuff bubble up and let the unimportant stuff just sort of melt away, because it does that in my head. I would love for you guys to be thinking about this and to carry on this conversation with us. I mean, we're going to have a circle in Google+, and so you will have access to us there. I'll check that. I'll make a note to check that once a day. And it's not like I'm totally hanging out there or anything, but I'll check that, and let's deepen this conversation. Let's figure out how to move forward together to basically help you figure out how to make this work for you. Is the big goal here.
Yeah, and my buddy Dwight and I were actually, and Dwight's on the line here too, before you and I started talking about this, Lee, my buddy Dwight and I were already going in this direction with something called the Second Act Crew. So you might be hearing more about the Second Act Crew coming up. And that will be something also. We don't know what. We're kind of crystallizing that as well. But I want to make it a strong community. And here's, folks, I'll say this: we need your help. Lee and I can get in front of you and we can share. Okay. I don't think we can. I don't know. Maybe at some point we can bring people into these hangouts, at least have some discussions and so forth. But the way this is really going to crystallize and really become a movement is for all of you here to join that circle when we start it. And you guys need to give too. You guys need to get in the community. You need to participate. You need to open up about what you're going through. You need to reach out, not only ask for help, you need to provide help. And every single one of you have something you can offer as well, even if you're struggling. Okay. I don't mind telling you, there are some struggles that I'm going through right at this very minute. A lot of positive things also. But, we're reaching out and offering what we can help. You have things that you can help me and Lee. You can help others. So we're going to build this community. It's all about making all of us stronger. Okay? And in that, we're going to do that by servicing others. For me, I want to serve businesses. I want to make businesses stronger. I want to help you make a living, and my way is going to be helping you help those businesses. Lee, you're involved in some other things I know too, and maybe that will come out at some time. But that's
Absolutely.
not the purpose. Okay, I love it, Lee. I want to thank you. I think we're going to wrap it up for this week and get together again next week. Thank you,
Sounds like
everybody. Yeah, thanks everybody for joining us. Look for follow-up from Lee and I. Maybe more from Lee because Lee is really good at that. But that's all I got for today. It's been incredibly.
That's cool to me. This has been one of the most stimulating things I've done in a long time. This is really cool.
Yeah. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you, guys.
Lee, I appreciate you too. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you, Steve. I'll see you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.